Welcome back to MVM. Today we're going to take a look at the upcoming deck building game Arkenshield from Maki. This game is going to take you on an epic quest where you are racing other players to reach the Citadel and defeat the evil empire while building a set of companions known as the Fellowship and trying to purchase the best items and defeat the most monsters along the way, while also hunting for treasure and trying to be the one to earn the most victory points. Now, this is a competitive game that can be played from 1 to 4 players. So yes, there is a solo mode, and I'm going to talk about both versions of the game. And in fact, when you see the game board set up in front of me, you're going to see a few components from both because I want to talk you through how the game works. Of course, there's a lot of similarities between the competitive and the solo mode. Now, each player is going to choose a player board like you see here laying in front of me. This player board is going to house everything that you personally need to play. You're going to take a deck of starting cards that are going to be able to produce resources for you. This is made up of shields and daggers. You're going to shuffle these up, place them here, and these are going to be the cards you draw to play the game. Everyone is going to start with the same leader card that is going to sit here and take up a spot in your fellowship. You'll notice that there are 4 fellowship spots where you can build up your fellowship over the course of the game. Each one of these cards is going to have a cost to purchase. Of course, your starting leader is free. It's going to have some sort of ability or some sort of resource it gives you over the course of the round. And each member of your fellowship is going to give you experience. And you can actually take an experience marker and place it on that hero. Now, these companions are going to give you a variety of different resources, and you're going to see these resources off to the side. You have the green influence, the red power, the blue experience, and over here you have treasure and coins, which are basically all victory points. Coins are going to be traded in for 5 victory points, and money is traded in at a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, experience is the strange resource of the bunch because it is never spent. As long as you have your companions out, you have a permanent experience. And this experience is required to move down this track you see here at the top of the player board. You're going to have a variety of locations marked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 that are going to represent your path to reaching the Citadel and defeating this ancient evil. You'll notice that there are 2 rows. You have the secret path up top and the main path on the bottom. Sometimes you can actually move back and forth between these paths by using a connecting path, but you're going to follow along with the one that you're on over the course of the game. Now, the game ends immediately when somebody reaches the end. So you can race across the top to trigger the end of the game, but if you move a little slower, you'll have more chances to score victory points over the course of the game. So you need to kind of balance that because getting to the end first does not declare you a winner. It just ends the game. You're going to get some bonus victory points for getting there first, but everyone is still going to get to count up their victory points, and then you'll see who wins. Now, in addition to those tiles, you're going to place out 2 standees. You have your tavern and you have your merchant. And these are going to be in predetermined locations based on this starting deck. You're going to draw a card and it's going to tell you which numbered location to place these on. The tavern and merchant are 2 standees that you can actually interact with over the course of the game. Your figure is going to start off the board at the starting location. Now, this is the same setup that all players are going to have, but there are a variety of these numbered tiles. So every player might have a different set of tiles in front of them. Each one of these tiles represents a different challenge that you must overcome in order to move on. And in fact, on your turn, you're always going to get to move to one location, provided that when you flip over the monster, you can pay whatever the cost is. Some of these are going to have you discarding or removing cards. Others are going to have you paying certain resource combinations. Now, on your turn, you're going to draw the top 6 cards of your deck, and this is going to be your hand of cards to play over that round. Your companion is always going to generate a certain amount of resources. For example, he generates 2 influence, and you're going to maybe get influence and power based on where you are in your location. For example, this location just gives me 1 power and 1 influence. So I can put all of these out on my card so that I don't forget I have them. In addition, I can generate resources by playing these cards out in front of me, and each one is going to give you some sort of influence or power as well. cards that are played are just played in front of you, and you're going to be able to spend those resources. You can spend them to purchase cards from the row up here, and this row is preceded with 5 starting cards, 3 shields and 2 swords that you can purchase. The cost is up at the top. They're going to have some sort of ability, including some sort of resource generation, and each one of these cards is worth a number of victory points at the end of the game. Whenever you purchase a card, you're actually going to take that card and place it directly on top of your deck, and then you're going to immediately replace it with a top card from the row. You're going to see it up here. The cost of these cards is either going to be green or red. Red cards represent enemies that you can encounter and fight over the course of the game. If you can generate 5 power, you take the monster, and instead of putting it on your deck, you actually put it in your captured monsters pile. And these captured monsters are going to be worth some amount of victory points immediately, and then they're going to be worth victory points for you at the end of the game. And of course, you're going to continue to reveal cards every time one is purchased. You're going to draw a new card to replace it. Now, there are 2 special types of cards that you might encounter: events and emotions. These are blue cards, and they're going to have some sort of effect that affects all of the players. Events will sit out here in the events spot, and whatever event that triggers will continue on. Emotions are going to sit here on the emotion spot, and they're going to be something that affects every player for just one turn before those emotions move to the discard pile. However, events will remain until they are replaced with another event, or until a condition that might be said on the card is met, in which case that event will move to the discard pile as well. Now, what's interesting here is that all of the cards that you purchased are going to go on top of your deck, like I said. All of the cards you played over the course of that round are also going to go back on top of your deck. At that point, you're going to actually shuffle all of the new cards and all of the old cards together to draw out your new hand of 6 cards. You might get lucky and you might get some of your new cards, but you might get a bunch of old cards instead. This is why finding ways to remove cards out of your deck is important. You can get rid of some of those lower cards you don't want, but you do have to be careful. If you cannot draw up to 6 cards, you are immediately out of the game. So the game ends and you lose. So you need to make sure that you can always draw at least 6 cards. You don't want to call your deck too thin. Now, like I said, you're going to have the option to move 1 space every turn as long as you can pay the cost. When you reach the 2 standees on the board, you can interact with them and something special will happen. When you reach the tavern, you're actually going to be able to purchase your set-aside companion and build the fellowship. Companions all cost 6 influence, and when you purchase one, it's going to come and sit off on your player board and of course generate another experience for you and a set amount of resources, for example, 2 resources. That's the one companion you can purchase from the tavern, but you will see other companions come up in the card row that you can purchase as well. Now, companions that join your fellowship don't just give you experience, which lets you reach the higher level areas of the game. They also will give you their resources and a fellowship bonus. You're going to see down here a printed scale of the different bonuses you'll get, whether or not you have the same or different types of cards. For example, I have 1 archer and 1 axe wielder. So I have 2 different cards. I'm going to generate 1 extra power every single round. So you can actually look and see what you're getting from your bonuses, plus your bonuses for the location you're at. Now, when you reach the merchant, you're going to have the option to sell cards from your hand for money. This is one of the ways to get money and also call cards out of your hand. The other way to get money is by selling excess resources. Anything you don't spend at the end of your turn is lost, but you can convert at a 3-to-1 scale. Now, like I said, these coins are each worth 1 victory point at the end of the game, so it's kind of good to have them. It's also good to call cards and remove those cards from your deck. Now, after you interact with the merchant the first time, you're going to actually draw another random starting card. You're going to take the merchant and move him into the same location on the other side of the board. This is going to give you 2 chances to potentially interact with that merchant over the course of the game and call out those cards. Now, the game is going to continue with each player in turn order doing all of these actions until one player reaches the very end of the path. They're going to net 15 points immediately, and they're going to trigger the end of the game also immediately, even in the middle of their turn. So you want to make sure that you have done everything else that you need to do on your turn before you move in and in the game. At that point, you're going to add up all the victory points that you had received over the course of the game. You're going to score 5 victory points for every treasure. You're going to gain 1 victory point for every 3 captured monsters. And then you're going to look at your deck of cards and the printed victory point cost on all of those cards as well. Whoever has the most victory points will be the winner. So reaching the end first does not guarantee you're going to win the game. In fact, if you rush along the secret path, like I mentioned earlier, while other players have been spending time fighting monsters and earning treasure and getting victory points in other ways, you could potentially lose by rushing. So you need to kind of make the decision about how fast you want to proceed, because those 15 victory points could be pretty valuable. Now, I did mention that you can play this game in a solo mode. Solo mode is very similar. Your turn structure doesn't actually change at all from what I just described. You're still racing to reach the end and get those points. However, you are racing against an AI opponent. And that AI opponent is represented by one of these commander tiles. You can either choose one of these unique commanders, or you can just deal one out randomly to be your commander for that game. Each one of these commanders has a special ability that's going to affect the entire game experience, and they also have a tribute. If you are ahead of them, they're going to actually gain some victory points to make up the gap. If they're ahead of you, they're going to lose some. This is kind of a way to bring some balance into these special abilities. The enemy is going to move at the end of your turn. They don't have to pay or anything. They're simply going to move to the next tile. They're going to reveal that tile and do whatever it says. Each one of these tiles is going to give them some amount of victory points while also hurting you in some fashion. A lot of these tiles are going to have things that will require you to discard coins, get rid of cards, or lose certain resources. There can also be enemies mixed into these decks. And I'm going to talk about one in particular, the assassin. Whenever the assassin is revealed, that assassin is actually going to come and play and sit in front of you, and you cannot do anything else on your turn until you spend the 2 power to get rid of that assassin. And like I said, each one of these tiles is going to give them victory points. And there's a variety of tiles of each level to choose from, so you're not going to see each of these tiles a lot. You're going to be getting a pretty unique gameplay experience each time you play. In addition, it's going to tell you on the tile which cards of the main row to immediately get rid of. So you're going to be still burning through the deck when you're playing against the AI opponent. You're going to place these cards out, and you'll have those available to purchase on your turn instead. Now, the farther the enemy moves, the more powerful these tiles are going to get. If the enemy reaches their final tile before you reach the end of your track, it still ends the game, but they're going to have gotten all of the victory points from every tile that they have unlocked over the course of the game. So you really want to limit the amount of these tiles that are flipped, because this is the way that the enemy is going to score victory points. And of course, like I said, there is a balance there. And there are some ways built into the deck. Some cards have specific abilities just for solo mode that are going to interact with the AI opponent, either by slowing them down or by blocking them from moving to the next tiles. Of course, the enemy can block you from moving as well. So there's a lot of back and forth that's going to happen when you play through that solo mode. So those are the 2 main ways to play Arkenshield, and I'd like to thank you for taking a look at the game with me today. Hopefully this looks fairly interesting to you. If you like deck building games, you'll want to take a look at the Kickstarter campaign, because I'm sure that they've got a lot of content coming down the line in terms of stretch goals and some surprises that they haven't revealed yet. This game is ripe for more cards, more tiles that can be added, more companions. There is basically endless expandability when it comes to this game, so I'm very interested to see what they have in store. So make sure that you follow their Kickstarter so you don't miss out on any exciting new announcements. And as always, please come back here, like, subscribe, follow. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited about, which of these gameplay modes you think you're going to play the most. So thank you for watching today, and as always, thank you for following all of our content, and I will see you next time.
Hey everyone, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider dinging the old bell below. That is going to help notify you of new videos that are uploaded to our channel. And as always, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and please consider watching all of our videos, one of which you can see right here to my left.